You know, when I first learned that the theme for today's program was on resilience, the first thing that came to my mind was when my son was in second grade. I used to make him the most awesome sandwiches for lunch, cream cheese and jelly. You heard me right. I'm not talking about cream cheese and jelly on a bagel or peanut butter and jelly. I'm talking about cream cheese and jelly sandwiches, not toasted. He loved them. Until one day, he came home from school and he said, "Mom, you gotta stop making me those sandwiches." When I asked him why, he said, "The kids in school are saying it's disgusting. They're making fun of me. They're calling me a weirdo." Now, we're talking about a second grader that isn't able to be resilient enough to enjoy the sandwiches that make him happy because he's worried about what other people think. And as silly as that may sound, when I think about resilience in my own life, I think about the smart, confident women that I've known in the professional workplace that are holding themselves back, valuing other people's opinions above their own, and diluting themselves in their communication. Now, this is a problem for all professionals, not just women, but women in particular, because of the lack of role models that they've had, because of the toxic work cultures they're in, because they've been passed up for opportunities, even though they're churning out great results behind the scenes. Women in particular struggle with being resilient when they communicate. If we can't communicate effectively in the workplace, we cannot survive. Communication is how we get things done. It's how we move from point A to point B. It's how companies thrive in global economies. And yet, for some reason, people still have a problem with communication. When you think about any key conversation that you're in, if you're not clear on who you are and why you're there in the first place, why would you expect anyone else to be clear? Today, I want to talk to you about speaking without apology, because it can change how you show up exponentially in any given conversation, in any room. There is language which we are using on a day-to-day basis that is diluting our value. Speech qualifiers that feed into the sorry syndrome. Words that scream, "I'm not good enough." I'm not good enough to lead a team. I'm not good enough to ask for more compensation. I'm not good enough to break out and run my own business. I'm not good enough to ask for help or for support. Now, as a disclaimer, I will say this is not based on academic research. This is based on 2 decades of working inside corporate America and later coaching professionals in leadership and communication. And I can tell you, even to this day, I am still guilty of weak language where once I catch it, I have to swiftly turn it around. Let's talk about 3 ways in which you can start speaking without apology to transform your communication. The first way you start speaking without apology is to answer this one question. How do I want to be perceived? How do I want to be perceived? Because the answer to that question will dictate how others respond to you and support you in whatever you're trying to achieve in that room. Let's talk about the word just. Let's say you are working with someone named Deborah, who holds the keys to your projects getting done. Your work has stalled because you haven't heard from Deborah. And so you pick up the phone and you say, "Hey, Deborah, I'm just checking in to see if you had some time to meet with me this week. I'm just calling." Now let me ask you, are you not good enough to meet with Deborah? Is her time more valuable than your time? And how bad do you really want to meet with her? How about saying this instead? "Deborah, hi, I have Friday at 2 p.m. open. Let's get something on the calendar and lock it in." Or feel free to suggest another time. How does that feel? Right? Total different vibration. First, you're taking initiative. You're in motion and you're not accepting no. Lead them. There are people in your life that are waiting for you to lead them. Subconsciously, everybody wants to be led. Everybody wants to be led, including you. When my car won't start, I am not the girl standing in the auto shop talking to the mechanic, trying to figure out why my spark plugs have to be replaced, why I have an oil leak. All I want to know is it time for me to get a new car, or when can I pick it up? Right? Not my area of expertise. Lead me. Tell me what I need to do. Where I do want to lead, however, is with my children. I have a daughter, I have a son. I want to lead with their education. I want to lead with my health and my career. I just want you to know becomes here's what you need to know. I'm just checking in becomes catch me up. Tell me how things are running. The second way you start speaking without apology is to go with your gut. Lead from intuition. Let's say you're sitting in your client or manager's office and they turn to you and they say, so we've had a change in strategy, we've had a change in direction. What do you think the action plan should be? What do you think we should do? Well, basically, I had this idea which I thought would work well. Basically, I thought, so-and-so is going out on maternity leave for a few months and we'd love for you to cover. Do you think you can handle it? I think so. Hold on. Do you think or do you know? How about saying this instead? Here's a solid solution. Here's a solid plan which I know will work. Or on the coverage question, you could say what my son said to me when he was just 5 years old. He was helping me unload groceries from the car to the garage, and I turned to him and I said, whoa, those bags are awfully heavy. Do you think you can handle it? And he said, Mom, I've got this. You've got this. If in that moment you feel from your gut that you can accomplish something that they're asking that you've never done before, feel free to squarely look them in the eye and say, I've got this, because you do. You will always find a way. You will figure it out. You'll go and call the person you need to call. You'll send those emails, right? You'll do your research. You'll figure it out when you're leading from your gut. But here's where we get hung up. We have to know every single step-by-step plan of action in that moment when we're put on the spot, or we will freeze and not speak up. Or worse, show up with weak language. When my father first came to this country from Italy in the 1950s, he had no money in his pocket. He spoke no English. And yet he raised a family. We were 4 children. We went on good vacations. We ate good food. I got a college education, 2 degrees. How did he do that? How did he provide? He kept knocking on doors to get the blue-collar jobs that nobody else wanted. When someone said to him, Giovanni, do you think you can handle it? Certamente, of course, I've got this. You've got this. Speaking without apology is action, it's movement. It's where you're leaving people called to do something because they place their trust in you. It's also a very delicate balance because we want to be polite and agreeable and still be that resilient leader worth following, right? We want to be as light as a feather. We want to have the answer to every question that's asked on the fly and still be that rock. Speaking without apology is also listening to your gut without ever saying a word. We have all been in the room with that certain someone who is sweet-talking us, saying everything that we want to hear, and deep down in our gut we're thinking, you know what? I don't trust this person. They're rubbing me the wrong way. And then we've also been in the room with that someone who's not saying anything that we want to hear, right? They're not hitting any of the beats. And yet for whatever reason we feel like, you know what? I feel good around them. I trust them. They're going to get me the results that I'm looking for. I'm going to hire them. Go with your gut. If we're being honest, this isn't about the other person on the other side of that phone call or on the other side of that table. This is about you and how you see yourself. And once you can lock in your mind the potential that you have to create the results that they're looking for, the sky's the limit. Energy flows where intention goes. The good news is that people can feel your energy, they can feel your vibration before you even enter that room. This gives you so much freedom to not worry about the words that come out of your mouth. Go with your gut. And the third way you start speaking without apology is to own your power. Now, power is a word that we're sometimes uncomfortable around. Power is influence, it's not control. It's sharing a thought and idea that sparks action in others. It's being a multiplier, not a diminisher. It's painting that picture, painting that vision, and then letting others plus those ideas to make them even better than yours. It's also owning other people's value. Instead of saying to someone, do you think you can help me with this? Putting them in a place of servitude to you. How about saying, you know, I can really use your advice. I can really use your expertise. Owning their power. A rising tide lifts all boats. Let's talk about the word actually. You're in a large meeting hall or conference area and you have a question. You say, well, actually, I have a question. Actually, I want to add something. You know what? You can go ahead and ask your question. You don't need permission. I guarantee you there are two or three other people in that audience that have the same question. Just ask the question, right? Remove the word actually. Or what about when you're in a team meeting and everybody in that room is bobbing their head yes in agreement except you? You don't agree with anything that's being said. Well, you know what? Sticking without apology is sticking your neck out once in a while and saying, you know what? We could keep doing X, Y, and Z, but that hasn't been working so well. Here's what has to happen. Here's what I know will work. Owning your power. Deep breath in. Exhale. Speaking without apology is also giving yourself 2 seconds to think about, what do I want to say next? Or maybe not at all. And letting radio silence loom above you, creating an uncomfortable, awkward silence. Wouldn't it be great if we had a little radar system that went on that always told us when we had weak language? Well, you do. You can feel it. You know. Is everybody walking on eggshells around you lately? Is everyone treating you a little special? It has you look inside and ask yourself, well, hold on, what's going on with me today? How am I showing up? Here's how weak language shows up. We have a positive expectation in our abilities. The confidence is there. And that gets trumped by negative self-talk, limiting beliefs, right? The inner crow starts chirping in our ear. Now our physical body goes weak. We are getting sick, stress is setting in, our health declines. Physically, we are lower than where we were before. Now our confidence level has dropped. We're not feeling as good as we were before. Self-esteem is low. Now we're showing up with weak language, diluting our value. If you consider yourself a confident person that knows their value, that's great. But that's not enough. Are you always weaving it in? Are you always projecting that you are? How do I want to be perceived? Is it possible that the outside world is only responding to how you see yourself? You become what you believe. Speaking without apology starts with your internal self-talk and trusting yourself on the words that you should say, aligned to who you are, that authentic you. You can bend, you can stretch, you can pause, but you will not break. And you can feel free to eat your cream cheese and jelly sandwich. Be resilient. Don't apologize for it. Thank you.